I'm warming up. Welcome everyone to the January 17th meeting of the Brentwood Rotary Club. I am your humble president, Sarah Johnson, and glad to be here. Curry got me all distracted. We are going to bring up Chuck Blackburn to lead us in our prayer, and then we're going to have Randy Bostic lead us in our pledge and four-way test. Chuck?
Thank you. Okay, let's all turn off our cell phones first.
They didn't bring it.
Somebody want one? It's a New Testament prayer to be short. Bow our heads. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, this time we can be together, this august group of folks with hearts in the right place and hearts mindful of you in service to you. Thank you for this food. Watch over those who are in our services and watch over those folks who are in need who are among our group. And bless us with the nourishment of our bodies and to our bodies to thy service. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, before we test the things we think and say and do, first,
Is it the truth?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
and fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Randy. I am now going to turn our program over to our wonderful secretary, Miss Betsy Crossley, and then Charles Grummond is going to lead us in Happy Bucks. Betsy?
All right. Well, we have a lot of visitors today, and that is awesome. But I want to start off the meeting by saying, welcome back, Roger Wheelwright. Oh, good. We have visiting Rotary today. Steve, you want to stand up and say hey to everybody again? Where are you? There he is. Steve Hewitt's back. Roger Greenup, where are you? I'm going to make you run too.
I'm proud to have a guest today, John Kraft. John is the new owner of Austin Funeral Service here at Brentwood, and we'll be moving to Wyatt and a couple of the children here in a few months after school. So be sure to get to know John. He's a prospective member for our club.
I'd like to introduce Alston Noah. He is a neighbor of mine next to a Mo's Pizza. He owns Mo's Original Barbecue. Check that out. Some of you in here like him a lot because he's a graduate of that school in Alabama.
Where are you going?
Well, he's a Roll Tide. I'm an Ohio State fan, so I can't we stayed at school up north and that school down south. He's from Athens, Alabama, and I'd like to welcome him to our community. He reached out to me and said, I'd like to kind of just know the groups that you should be associated with. And I said, well, you got to come to Rotary with. And so I'm glad he's here. I hope to join us.
Would you reintroduce Gil Walker? Would you reintroduce one of our currently revisiting Rotarians?
Marie is a super young lady. We've been on several trips with her and others.
And she's just a real fellow, enjoying being around, always smiling, always laughing, just a super, super good lady, and I think she's going to be a real asset to our club.
And Jennifer Bourne, not one, but two visitors. Awesome.
Okay, this is Jay and Trent. They are with Perimeter Roofing. I send all my clients to get roofs with these caps that we use in commercial and residential, and I invited them to come and meet your people today.
Thank you very much.
Did I miss anybody? All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you, Betsy. Charles, you're up.
All right, wow, that's enough. Who's happy on this great day? There we go. How's that?
All right, I am happy to bring you a public service announcement. This is from the Brentwood Environmental Advisory Board. In the middle of your tables, there are some stickers, little round stickers, that we're going to encourage you, if you would, if you have a favorite container, refillable container, put it on your container and carry it with you everywhere you go. The EAB is trying to encourage everyone to ditch the plastic. So we're all addicted to these things. We know that 40 million of them go in the garbage every single day. So the world is coming to the realization that we need to ditch plastic. We need to start carrying refillable containers. And it's an awareness campaign to get everybody to refill and reduce. So stop on these stickers, please, on your favorite container. Thank you.
I'm happy the Titans are in the AFC Championship game for the first time in 17 years. 37
32, that's a
Hey, Tim, what you didn't realize is that the Titans gave us credit for their win last week. Therefore, we're doing the blue tablecloths again in their honor with Mr. Larry King.
I have a couple bucks in there. One is for my best friend and first wife. She and I will celebrate 59 years Monday. Wow. And the other is not doing a lot of the real rights back with us today, not in the doctor's office on Friday.
Actually, the Braves went the first way. Who's next? I saw some hands. Oh, there's one right behind me.
Thanks to the good Lord, I just celebrated my 78th Tuesday of this week. I'm still younger than Roger Reed, though.
So next week, we're going to talk about golf. But talking about golf, our guest today, Mr. Hewlett, is our first golf sponsor. He signed up with me last night.
All I heard was Jared is now behind.
In line with what Jay was saying, they had an article on the news the other night where a well was beached somewhere and it had 220 pounds of plastic in its stomach, which caused its death.
Right. Who wants to follow that?
Jared.
Yeah, look at that, you killed my crowd. All right, well, that's answer.
Well, thank you, everybody. I wanted to invite Roger Wheelwright up here. Roger wanted to say a few things to the club. So, Roger, come on. We're so glad you're back.
Manipulate with a cane is a little bit difficult, but I'm back. I need to tell you a long story, but I'm not going. I'm trying to make it short. But I went through a lot in the last 3 or 4 months. And it all started with this long process I'm going through, which is called chemo. I'm going on 4 years now. And chemo caused me to have a heart attack. That's something they don't tell you about. And I didn't even know it. And I was going through my 10th day, and I was so weak that the doctor said, take an ambulance to the ER. So I went to the ER, and next thing I know, there's 40 doctors running around saying, you have a heart attack, didn't you know it? And I said, no. And so they ran me up, did a thing through my arm, went into my heart. They were going to do a stent. And they said, you don't need a stent. Your body has already had blood vessels that have gone around the problem, and you've got a secondary system up there now. So they didn't do anything. And I said, I didn't know the body could do that. I said, well, on occasions it can. So and then the next thing I find out, I have cirrhosis of the liver caused by chemo, and then I had diabetes caused by chemo. And so I had to balance the heart attack and the diabetes, and that was a process. And I had, after intensive care, I had to go to the cancer clinic, and I sat there in 2 weeks, and they learned how to balance it. So now my diabetes is, last AC1 was 5. That's in the normal range. So it's that's good. My heart attack, my heart, the doctor said he didn't need to see me for another 6 months. And where I started out, I couldn't hardly walk. I started from ground zero. Bill knows that. And now I can walk 7, 8, 9 flights of stairs, no problem, don't even get winded. I walked all over the airport in Virginia yesterday, and it was probably 3 miles. Not a problem. So I'm in pretty good shape. And I'm lifting weights, I'm strong, and I really thank you guys for the prayers. I know they're there. I can feel them. And it's really nice to have that kind of support. So thank you.
You're an answered prayer, Roger. We're so glad you're back. I wanted to remind everyone about the Harpeth River cleanup coming up next weekend. There are sign-up sheets on the tables. Is that correct, Patrick?
Correct. Just very quickly, had some good response from some of our usual supporters, the scouts, some of the environmental clubs, heard from the Summit National Honor Society, the president yesterday, which is all great, but I need some shepherds to lead the sections. These are people have a lot of energy there, I think, especially if we have the coffee and donuts out. But if you know you can come and help lead a section, or just get folks to the right place and just direct them to how to take care of the trash when it's done, that would be very helpful. For those of you who signed up, especially for sign in and kind of heard the cats early on, I'm grateful for that. And just hope for good weather. So, if you need anything, please reach out to me either by text or email.
Thank you, Patrick. And want to remind everyone about the human trafficking movie. Is that on the 23rd, Jared?
Thursday.
Thursday. It's Thursday. So if you would like more information to buy tickets, please go to your reflections from this week, and you'll have the link to take care of that. There were 2 umbrellas left last week, so if you want to get wet, you're missing your umbrella. They are up here, so please come and see if they're yours. Pancake Day is April 18th, so go ahead and mark your calendars. And with that, I am going to... The Pancake Day Committee is having a meeting right after this meeting. And where are you going to be? In here or in the main conference room? Okay, in the main conference room. So with that, I'm going to turn our program over to our illustrious, our wonderful mayor. Mr. Ray Little, who needs no introduction. Come on up, Mr. Ray.
First General, glad you're back. Thank you for your service. As I stand here and contemplated speaking today, many of you in this room are great servants to our community, and that's one of the things that makes Brentwood so wonderful. And countless volunteer hours operating to help the city through your business, through your residency. And so I want to thank you for that. And then as I look through the room, I want to tell you especially that I appreciate many of your help for me originally even becoming a commissioner and having the honor to serve this great city. And just wanted to thank you for that. Kind of like the old story, turtle up on the fence post. I didn't get there on my own. So thank you all. And I wanted to start before I talk about the state of the city and thank you all for that. Brentwood, of course, personally, I think it's the greatest city in the world for many, many reasons. Quality of life, the community, the values of that community, the individuals who make up that community. But really, statistically, when you look, we worldwide are one of the greatest communities in the world. So I remember it well then when I was born in 1962. There were 3,000 people in Brentwood. And in 1969, there were still about 3,000 people in Brentwood. I love that top shot. That's a shot up Franklin Road. If you look real close, you can tell it snowed because there's snow up around the telephone poles. And I remember it well. That was my Uncle Houston's Arco station at the top. And that picture is taken about where my grandfather's shell station was, there at the corner over here at Franklin Road. Of course, that's the view now. And many things we've done to help preserve this history and historical landmarks, like the Moreland Mansion, building a hotel around it. I think that's a testimony to Brentwood citizens that they seek to do things, but try to do them in an excellent way. So, of course, 50 years later, growing about 44,000 people, and we'll be doing a census this year, so fill out all your census cards, because all those tax dollars you send off to Washington, that's how you get a percentage back. Getting counted, so be sure to do that. But we're the 16th largest city in Tennessee, and as far as I'm concerned, we're the #1 city in Tennessee. So, Brentwood has kept its focus on growth and green space, and of course historic preservation, as I mentioned. And I really think the community's also kept its focus well on education, safety, parks, and amenities, which we'll get into. But here's a little video as we celebrated our 50th anniversary last year as a city, since it was incorporated in 1969. Of course, it was really established in the 1790s, but it was never incorporated until then.
I think Brentwood is a great place to live because of the people who choose to live here. They're willing to get out and work for their community, and I think that's what makes this a really wonderful place to live.
I think Brentwood is an incredible place because it has this small town southern charm, meets a little bit of that big city life with a lot of diversity and a lot of loving families.
Brentwood really brings out the best in everyone. It gives you that open-minded community to let you become what you want to be.
You know, one thing about Brentwood, it's a special place. And things that people deem special, they care about. We care about Brentwood.
That's the way Brentwood's always been. When people come, they stay, because it's hard to find another Brentwood.
It was a big year last year with, I know many of y'all participated, but the Golden Gallop and Print Fest and Rendezvous at Ravenswood. We had a great celebration last year for 50th. Our parks, I hope many of you in the summer, at least once or twice a summer, go to the Crockett Park concerts. Some of them have world-class entertainment. Sometimes you have someone that becomes famous later on, but they're free and it's a great family environment. Our parks are just wonderful, whether you need to go just sit on the bench and contemplate, or if you want to go run or play tennis or whatever. we now have over 1,000 acres in parks. I would say that our parks and green space for our population and the size of our city are there again. I can't think of any community anywhere else that would be any better. Greenways. Every time we can find a way to put in a greenway or a trail, that seems to be very popular with the population, but it's something I would say as a commission we do strive to do. This is our latest. If you've not had a chance to walk it, it starts about Tractor Supply and it goes in behind the Y, and hopefully this year finished phase 2, which will then extended all the way to the Hill Center. But it's great. I've walked it many times. It's already being well used. In fact, I walked it before it was open because I felt like as a commissioner and mayor, I need to make sure it looked right. And there were already many people out there before it officially opened. So if you get a chance, you're sitting here next to this huge office park, and there's a section of it as you walk up the hill, as you approach the Tractor Supply section, it's like being in a national park. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing to me. So we often partner real well with the county. Rec Center, we're putting a splash pad in, which will be open this year. We pay for some of it, and the county does, and on this, the county will administer it. It is an activity that they will charge a slight admission for, but it's like $2 or $3. So very popular, especially with parents and grandparents who have children under the age of 10, because they're not going into deep water as they would in the swimming pool. They get all the joys of playing in the water. Our schools. Just this one statistic, and of course Sheila Cleveland here on the school board, we appreciate her hard work. The average, this is just incredible, the average ACT score at Brentwood High School in Ravenwood this last year is 27.5. That's the average. That's not the high, that's the average. And of course, all of our public schools, of course ministered by the county, but are excellent. And as a city, we often strive to give back to the schools, and I was appreciated as commissioner and mayor being allowed to do that. Of course, this last year had the opening of the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math building at Brentwood High School, and actually Brentwood Middle, which helped some of the overcrowding that was going on with both facilities. Now, we're looking towards Brentwood Middle, probably 2024, I think I get.
Well, by your capital, we're shooting for 2023, but
2023.
I'd be safe to say 2023.
And it may be a total tear down and rebuild, which is needed because I went there when it was Northside Junior High. And when we have Pancake Day there, the bathrooms by the band room still look exactly the same as they did when I was in grade. They're very nice. I mean, I guess that's a testimony to the student population of Brentwood and parents over the years and the school board that everything's nice, but it still looks exactly the same. So it probably is time for it to be modernized. But of course, we've got just fabulous schools, fabulous school board, new superintendents. Mr. Golden's Dr. Golden's doing a great job. So this is something the commission's done throughout the years, and it's funny. And I'll pause on this as I listen to Commissioner Dunn speak. I will say a blessing in Brentwood is throughout the years, the commission has always had those who have been there for a while. And their institutional knowledge is invaluable. And I'm starting to become one of those because I've been up there almost 11 years now. But Commissioner Dunn and Commissioner Smithson have both been up there about 30 years. And I will say they have served very well through the years. And I just say their institutional knowledge and their ability to look at problems or whatever is invaluable. And I think that's good. We always have newer people coming on the commission, but there tends to be a very stable political body there, and I think that goes a long way in helping our city. And of course, we've had Mike Walker for many years as city manager, and now Kirk Bednar, and our own Jay Evans, who's sitting somewhere in here. There you go, Jay, the assistant city manager, and so we have fabulous executives in our city staff that our department heads are all excellent. And even down to our employees that are on the lower levels as far as pay and experience or whatever, we constantly get thank yous. As I read one at the commission meeting Monday night, Public Works, and how they tirelessly helped and all. And I can tell you, as a mayor who wants to serve but also runs a business and understands about customer service, it's great to have that kind of service and servant attitude through a municipal government. So I wish we could transfer that to some other levels of government, but there's some that are doing better and some not. But, of course, constantly here, Brentwood's original name, or one of its original names back in the 1840s, 1850s, was Midway. And there's a mansion that we used to eat lunch at from a country club. It was Midway Mansion. It was owned by the McGavics. And the reason it's called Midway is because Brentwood was on midway between everything. It was midway between Franklin and Nashville. It's midway between Murfreesboro and West Nashville. And even now, most of our traffic problems is not just citizens, it's all the 30 or 40% of pass-through traffic. And if you notice, like during the holidays when schools aren't in session and people are off work, it's like, I'm like, oh wow, it's 1986 on Concord Road. Oh wow, you know, there's nobody with me at 5:45 in the morning. I used to leave my house at 5:45 in the morning to get to the shop at 6, and it was me. I mean, sometimes I would see a postal carrier, but you know, it was me. And now I wait behind people at lights, you know, at Edmondson and Sunset and all of that. And a lot of that is pass-through traffic. And we constantly, as a city, look at ways to improve intersections, roads. And then we have large projects like Franklin Road that I know as soon as I became a commissioner, that was one thing I tried to investigate and see about the widening. Anytime you widen one of our major thoroughfares, whether it's Franklin Road or Concord Road, even Wilson Pike, they're state roads, and then of course Franklin Road is a U.S. highway also. So there's a whole lot that go into it. I know that widening project, one thing that's taken a lot longer is there's so many utilities that run north and south on Franklin Road. And unfortunately, the utility companies, if it's on our dime, they'll sometimes get out there quicker. But when it's on their dime, they're having to move those. It's an expensive project. And until A moves, you can't get B to move. And until B moves, you can't get C to move. And so that has already delayed the project a year. But some things were done by the state, thank goodness, that TDOT that hopefully will help push that along. Operating budget, $92.2 million. A lot of money. I know in municipalities or state governments or whatever, that may not seem a lot, but to me, since it's not my money, it's your money, it's always kind of daunting when we do the budgets. And we always work real hard on the budgets, trying to make sure that we squeeze every penny out of your tax dollar. And I think as a city, we do a good job of that. This year, the operating budget's up a little bit at $92 million because of the police station. There's some special capital projects. I know we had a $15 million bond issue, and I got to sign them. I've never signed a $15 million bond issue. I can tell you, it's sober. It's like, my name's on that? But it's money well spent. It's like pretty much everything the city does. Police station's probably been talked about and worked on actively for 4 or 5 years. And this last Monday night, we finally voted and got a final cost of construction and everything. And it's within the window that we had planned on. It's much needed facility. We're just down the street. Today, you want to go see where they're digging. It's just down on the right. City already owned the property. The police station will be centrally located. It's something that in Maryland Farms and then Safety Center East and then the Safety Center down in Cool Springs have fulfilled the need of Brentwood safety-wise, but it will be better for it to be centrally located, not have civilians in a police facility, because in today's climate, sometimes it's better for security reasons, to have the police in a more, for lack of a better term, hardened facility. They'll have a firing range downstairs. We always pride ourselves on training and having the best technology for police, because it actually ends up being less expensive because you can have fewer patrol officers and do more with them if you keep them well equipped. So we've always kind of pride ourselves on that. Our general fund, about $40 million, and as you look at the taxes, those of you who can read them, local property, state share revenues, other sources, pretty much balanced. We don't just depend on one revenue stream for our operating budget, which is good for you. Even when the economy went south, which is when I was first elected commissioner, and I think city revenues decreased for 14 straight months, and we were maybe getting close to worrying about having to lay employees off, which is something Brentwood has always prided itself on not doing. We still were so much more stable than most municipal governments because we did have a broad range of revenues coming in. And so if this one would go down, sometimes this one would come up just enough to make up the difference. So this shows our expenditures. Of course, as you can see, police and fire and rescue make up the biggest part of that, and I think that's appropriate, because if you're not safe, your quality of life's not that good. I remember right from college, Maslow hierarchy of needs, I think that bottom base is safety. Because if you don't feel safe, it doesn't even really matter if you're eating. So we take public safety very serious, and we, of course, have excellent public safety departments. I remember the Brentwood Police and Fire Station back then, and of course now we have more than 150 firefighters and police officers. And actually our police and fire are both world-class, internationally accredited. And very few departments across the United States are internationally accredited. So you should take pride in the fact that you live in a community that our public safety is not only good as far as we're concerned, but they're good as far as the experts are concerned as well. The fire and rescue, of course, has 4 stations. And we are looking, I know everybody's talking about the police headquarters, but we are looking into doing a 5th station over on Split Block, just to help with response time and needs. It will probably budget-wise and all be 2024 before we see it completely built. But we have already acquired the property and are looking towards that, just to help with response time, which that's where seconds count. Is when someone has had a heart attack or a stroke or can't breathe or whatever, you want to get to them as fast as possible. And sometimes a minute one way or another can mean the difference between life and death. So we take that serious. We have to plan these things out, but that's part of the reason for constantly looking for a place to centrally locate the police headquarters for the same reason. This is a map showing the districts for the fire department. And as you can see over here in District 5, just because it's newer construction and where it's located in kind of east and southeast Brentwood, doesn't have quite as good coverage. But when we get that station there, we'll have it. 10 years ago, we wouldn't have needed it because there wasn't a population out there. I live out that way, but there weren't as many people living out there as 10, 12 years ago. This is an architect's rendering of the new police headquarters, and of course it'll be just down the street. Of course, our great groundbreaking ceremony. And one thing that I'll say is a joy for me at serving y'all in the city is there's a lot of projects that you take 1 or 2 or 4 or 5 years to do. And when you get there, you see it being done, you see it being done well. That's very satisfying. And so that was a very special day for me. Of course, they chose 9/11 as the day to break ground for obvious reasons. So, of course, going back to our historical homes, I would say Smith Park was a great risk. We did that in the height of the Great Recession. because the acreage was $27,000 an acre. And I don't think acreage was $27,000 an acre when I was a teenager in Brentwood, but it may have been. But it was a big risk because banks were failing in Europe and the economy was bad. But the family wanted to sell for certain reasons, and at that price we couldn't resist. So we got the first 320 acres at $27,000, and I think the last 80 at $32,000, $33,000 if I remember right. Yep. And what I like about it is when you get over that ridge from where the Smith house is, it is exactly like Brentwood was when I was a child. When we would go to the dairy farm and go hunting and hiking and all, go over the ridges and back and all, it's just, and I think, grandkids, great-grandkids, great-great-grandkids will be close to this huge metropolitan area, but actually can get back in a spot where it will still smell like it did when the original pioneers came here. You smell the forest, and you don't hear the sounds of the city or noises. And in places in that park, you can't see things, like houses or any type of anything that makes you think you're not anywhere but way out in the wilderness. It's also neat. Bur oaks have always been popular. If you remember the bur oak at the library, that was about, they figure it probably was planted about the time Jamestown was founded. There's a couple of bur oaks up in Smith Park that are probably close to that age, if you can imagine a tree that's 350, 400 years old. So if you've not been there to hike, go. The house, of course, is historical, and then the Cool Springs home. And both of these facilities are available for weddings, business meetings. We even sometimes have a funeral at one of the historic homes. It's a benefit to the city and actually to all of Middle Tennessee. So, community events, of course, our Breakfast last year was a big hit. We're going to do that again, even though it's going to be our 51st birthday. But that was a lot of fun. And if you've never been to the July 4th event at Crockett Park, you need to do it. It's probably the safest in Middle Tennessee, and it's wonderful. And the fireworks show is outstanding. So we also have great bands. 2030 plan, pretty much just continue as we are. Continue trying to grow with excellence, but keep growth, at a very even, steady pace as we have, especially the last 8 or 10 years. The census, as I mentioned earlier, very, very important. Please fill it out so I don't have to come and knock on your door. And you can go online and fill it out, or you can do a little mailing card. What I see in Brentwood's future is just continuing to have green space, excellent departments within our city, great citizens moving here, and not near the rate that they were 15 or 18 years ago, but yes, great citizens and still great schools and all. I think our future looks very bright. That's when Chief Goss was brave enough to let me play firefighter for a morning. So, just in perspective, as I look and I think about the community and just growth and the servant attitude of most people who live here and the excellence of most people who live here, I don't see anything but a bright future. It's hard to believe my grandfather would have been 101 on October 27th of 2019 if he had lived. And grew up on our dairy farm at Evanston Concord Road. Used to walk down Concord Road to Liberty Church Pike, which is there, and up to Liberty Methodist Church, which is where he went to church. And that's also where he went to a one-room school, 1st through 8th grade. So just less than 100 years ago, we had one-room schools 1st through 8th grade. Now just looking at our education system alone and how far we've progressed over the years. It's actually amazing, especially someone like me who has been a part of this community all my life. And I think I've got just a few minutes for questions. So,
Ray, how much debt does the city of Brentwood have?
Right now, debt-wise, we're at about 50 million, if I
A
remember.
little more.
Just a little bit, 55 million. We'll be beginning the budget process actually in a couple weeks, and that's something I'm proud of. Is the commission as a whole goes through several both capital improvement plans and the city budget between now and when we vote on it in June, and I think that's part and parcel of why our city's run well. It's very attended to. But most of our debt is at 2.5% to 4% interest, and it's in bonds. And actually, we used to sometimes pay them back early, but there's been some laws that changed that don't allow municipalities to do that. But the police station, that $15 million bond issue was at like 3.4%. 3.2. So our indebtedness is at a great price, and if you figure the rate of inflation in most of those bonds, the rate of inflation will be much more what the interest is that we're having to pay on it.
How do we rate as far as the amount of debt we have for our budget or size?
Fabulous. Actually, there's not many communities in the world or in the nation that do this, but Brentwood's operating budget is $40 million. In other words, about what it takes to run the city for a year without any capital projects or whatever. We generally have $27 to $34 million in reserve balance. If a huge catastrophe hits here, Brentwood can still run as a government in the building no revenue for 6 to 8 months, and that's almost unheard of. But it provides our AAA bond rating. It gives us the ability to have projects like Franklin Road, and when they become a road that's called shovel ready, we'll go on out and start requiring the right of way and everything. And when you're on a big long list for federal government, state government, trying to get road projects that really been talked about for years, if you're a community that's got the project shovel ready, I guarantee you get a lot of consideration because that's not the norm. And so our always keeping that reserve balance does a lot for the city. And it allows us to do capital projects like the police station and all. We also budget real conservatively the hall tax, which is going away, but for years, we usually would, even when the economy went south and the stock market collapsed, I think we still were getting $2 million a year. We'll budget $750,000, but a lot of times we get $4 million. And so that money, like, we try to do the budget, especially on the revenue side, so conservatively that even if we have some unexpected expenses, we still usually at the end of the year end up, if it was a business, in the black. So. Harold?
Ray, what is Brentwood's official or unofficial position on Cal Turner's property?
I don't think there is a position per se. I think if that ever is something that's done, something the Turners decide to sell it or whatever, I think at that time the city will have to decide. I think it'll depend on the time it is and what's proposed and all. At this point, have no indications of anything occurring there. So it's one of those things that, it'll have to be looked at when it comes up. It's not one of those things that, I think we all have thought about it because it's always been such a gateway view to the city coming down Franklin Road, especially over the years where they did the nativity. But it may stay that way a long time. I don't know.
So how many, we always hear 100 people at Brentwood, and what's that number for us?
I don't really think it's really that much. Most of the increase in traffic and everything you see is because everything around us is growing. If you look at census, Brentwood's growing, but even a lot of the houses that are built now were approved in 2005, 2006, 2007, and then when the economy kind of went down and house sales went down, a lot of those developers kept their developments extant, but they didn't do anything with them. And then the last, some of them that I think of specifically would be like your Terramores and your Morgan Farms and all kind of out where I live, close to Ravenwood. I think we had, I keep some of these statistics in my head sometimes, and I think we had 86 housing starts this year. In a community of 43,086 houses, new houses in a year's time, that's not that much. So it's kind of been that way for the last, well, really since the economy came back. I think the biggest year we had was maybe 260 or something housing starts. But I think we've been like in the 130, 140 or 94 or whatever range of new housing starts for about the last 3 or 4 years. And so Brentwood's not growing at a real fast pace. Everything around us is growing. And we do have this, I'll share this real quick because I know she wants to quit. But Scales Elementary was a unique thing. In 2012, it was an open zone school. If you lived in Wayne County, you could come to Scales Elementary as long as you would drive there if you were outside the zone. Within about 2 years, Deb probably knows, children attending there. About 2 years, it was a lot of people who were empty nesters, who 2 of them lived in the house. Their kids went to school with me. And they had not had kids in the school system for 30-something years. They decided it was time to move. They were tired of taking care of the yard and the house and all that, and they moved out. And we have families, which is wonderful. That's what keeps a city vibrant. The families moving in with 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. So without any, there are some new houses being built in that area, but without any new houses built within the scale zone, they actually went from open zone to overcrowding in 2 years. So that's another thing we have. A lot of our neighborhoods that have been there for a while have families move in with children, and that creates, of course, population and growth. But as far as new houses and stuff, not a lot.
Wonderful overview.
Quick question.
Wonderful overview. I can see why you're mayor.
That's
Great job. Tell us, great stuff. Tell us what we should be like most focused on to help our community, because it's like what keeps you up at night. What's our biggest issue?
It's not really an issue, and actually, as far as the city, there's not a lot that keeps me up at night. I'm blessed with great staff, great fellow commissioners, and a great community to serve, that we don't have a lot of those problems where I'm like worried, okay, do we buy the fire engine and lay off 10 police officers?
Yes.
Like a lot of communities worry about, or gosh, we need this police station, but it's going to be 50 years before we can afford to do a new police station. So those would be the kind of things that would really keep me up. What I tell everyone, what I told the scouts at Monday night's meeting, as they sat there and listened to people constantly talking about others serving others, find ways you can serve your fellow citizen, whether it's in your neighborhood, county, state level, whatever. Find what you're good at and go serve. That's always my charge to the kids who come up there and to the adults. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. We really appreciate you coming and sharing with us today. It's always great to see you. Everybody, if you don't mind, help put up tables and chairs after our meeting. Quick reminder about the Pancake Day Committee is going to be in the front conference room. Welcome back, Roger. We're so glad to see you. And welcome to all of our guests and visiting Rotarians. We're so glad you're here, and we'd love to see you again. And with that, we're adjourned.